Finally, joining us once again on Sports from the Couch and the Sports Cubicle is the one and the only Robert Scott from Rob's 2 Cents. Rob, how's it going, buddy?
I'm all good, Mercado, man. How you feeling there, brother?
Everything is everything, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us again. Unfortunately, Paul Chivari, Devin Tingle, and Dan Marver couldn't be here during this recording session, but as always, they send their love to one of our favorites. And thank you so much during this holiday season to join us during your busy schedule. It's a busy time in the NBA and for the Chicago Bulls. A lot of stuff to talk about, so we're going to stay on the NBA hardwood for a little while. Of course, we know you have your thoughts of Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, but we'll wait for those hot takes as we get closer to the end of the season. But let's start off right here locally at the United Center and in Chicago, as we've seen the Chicago Bulls now 5 players in the COVID protocol. And this has been something that hit the team really hard as of this recording. They have lost now Kobe White, Javonte Green, DeMar DeRozan, Matt Thomas, and now Derrick Jones Jr. Your thoughts of this outbreak that has kind of hit the Chicago Bulls really hard after what has been a really fun start to the season?
First thing first, let me just say I appreciate you for having me on the show, Mercado. You've been doing great things over there, man. I've been checking you out. Both of us, still with our connection with Brother Jerry Rouse. So thank you so much for having me here. And Tingle and Dan Marver, hey, miss you guys, man. But, it's nothing but love from this end. But the only phrase that pops to mind is what a time we live in right now, man. The Bulls were on a roll, playing some great basketball, and just to get, just damaged by COVID-19, man. It's, I was just joking with a friend earlier. I said, I'm just waiting on the new name that they call the next variant of the virus. It's just sad to see, but hopefully we can, keep some of that momentum going. I know we took a tough loss against Cleveland the other night. And as you can see, along with injuries, because we don't have Alex Caruso right now. Caruso, that's what I call him. That's my guy. Been watching him since he was with the Lakers. It's going to be tough, but right now this is what champions are made of, brother. We have to push through and try the best way we can until we can rally up the troops and get back to our winning ways.
At their best, do you think this team has legitimate hope to not just be a contender in the playoffs, not just maybe win a series, not just get to a conference final, but make a deep run into this? Do you think it's maybe a thing where we have to see them prove it first? Because DeMar DeRozan's a winner. We've seen him go through the grind. And Alex Caruso obviously has championship medal underneath him. But you look at the rest of that roster, and it's a lot of guys that are going to learn what it takes to win in an NBA playoff series in a long run. But if at their best, if you're not dealing with the COVID issues or you overcome these COVID issues, how far do you think this team can actually go?
I honestly think the Bulls can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. In my honest opinion, I feel like we're one big away. I feel like we get extremely small when Vucevic goes to the bench. And, sometimes that could be detrimental against teams like Milwaukee, teams like Philly, teams that have, a traditional big or have someone like Giannis who's just a utility knife of a player who just gives it all. So I think the Bulls, I was kind of sad Milwaukee snatched up DeMarcus Cousins. I know he was out there in the free agency pool. Milwaukee said, hey, we're going to take advantage, especially because they're dealing with their own injury problems with Brook Lopez, who now has to have surgery on his back. But he should be back hopefully in time for the playoffs. So I think the Bulls, they definitely have a high ceiling. Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to be one of the tougher teams to see in the NBA playoffs. I can tell you that right now, man. We know how the city of Chicago is, and this team is representing us proudly. Hard hat lunch pail, as Stacey King would say, man, clocking in the work, doing damage, coming in, incredible defense. I mean, do you see the way Caruso is leading the defensive charge? I mean, the game against Dallas, the man is just diving on the floor, getting loose balls, and when it comes to defense, you have to win those 50-50 balls. The only thing I can say, minus the big, that defense, we're going to go as far as our defense takes us. We're going to go as far as the defense takes us.
And it's something that you've seen with Lonzo Ball being added to the team. It's something you've seen with the athleticism of like a Derrick Jones. There is something to being active, having active hands, not just active feet, and being able to communicate and go for those loose balls, those 50-50 balls. And this team is doing that. But this is what happens when you put a team that has a bunch of professionals together,
correct,
guys that want to play with one another. And you're seeing the growth, the maturity continue for a Zach LaVine after coming from the Olympics, having a great relationship building time with a Draymond Green. And then DeMar comes in. And I think for a lot of people, there was excitement for DeMar coming here because of the stature and how much respect he has among the league. For people who were critical of it, a lot of it was scheme and how he fits to it. But I think for a lot of people just trying to stay neutral to the situation, what you've seen now is not only how it fits, how much of a benefit and how much of an asset it's been for the growth of the team, the organization, the way it's looked around the entire league.
Yes.
Is DeMar legitimately not just team MVP? Not that he's going to win it, but should he be in the conversation for league MVP very early on into the season?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. We've seen just the overall impact DeMar DeRozan has had. Great point that you bring up. You know, he won in Toronto. Yeah, he might not have won the big one, but we're talking about a team that was pretty much one game away. You know, they had to run into that juggernaut we know as LeBron. You know, and that's not an easy task. But DeMar coming to this team, bringing the mid-range jumper back. I mean, the guy is channeling it, his inner Kobe. Did you see the footwork that he had out there on the court? Leading all NBA players in fourth quarter scoring, meaning he gets the job done when the time is right, when you need a big bucket. DeMar has been there. If DeMar is not in the MVP conversation, then I say the NBA is rigged.
What has been the biggest surprise for you along with DeMar DeRozan for this campaign of the Chicago Bulls? Has it been the way Lonzo Ball has fit into the rotation? Has it been the emergence of Ayo DeSumo? Was it the slow start for Nikola Vucevic? What has kind of been the most surprising thing beyond DeMar and the fact that they've had such a great start to the season?
Great question, brother. And then Lonzo Ball. Can we give the man a round of applause for working on his game? We saw the shot form that he had when he first got into the league, the way he would carry the ball over his shoulder before he shoots the ball. You can tell he went every summer, worked on his jumper, worked on that three-point ball. Every year since he's been in the league, his three-point percentages went up. So we got to give Lonzo credit for that. Then you also look at the way that they are playing defense. By committee, it's not just one person. Everybody is committed to playing defense. We look at what Zach LaVine is doing on the wings, and this has been a guy who hasn't been known as a defender, but he's been playing defense by committee. We know that DeMar DeRozan can play some defense, but having Alex Caruso come in with that championship pedigree, being able to show this team, hey, this is what we do. This is how we win. I played with one of the Mount Rushmore players ever to play in the NBA in LeBron James, and I'm going to take what I learned from the Los Angeles Lakers and bring it to this Chicago Bulls organization. We look at the development of Zach LaVine. We see him the superstar right before our eyes. You had a great point in which he played in the Olympics. He got to play along players like a Bradley Beal, play with players like Damian Lillard, play with champions like Draymond Green, and of course the Durantula, Kevin Durant, easy money sniper. And we see that the impact that it's had on him, the way he's been able to step up. When DeMar doesn't have it, Zach has it. And I feel like it's great that we have two players that can get their own shot at any time. We look at the amazing ball movement that the Bulls have had. I mean, everybody touches the ball. It looks like they're having fun out there. I've never seen so many group of guys smile in my life, especially in the Chicago organization. And we got to give Coach Billy Donavon some love, man. He's calling the right schemes. He's putting the right lineups together. We were waiting on Kobe White to get back. We see Vucevic now picking up momentum after that slow start. I'm talking about a guy that's 20-10 rolling out of bed. We saw what Vucevic did with the Orlando Magic. So now it's time for him to experience what it's like in a winning environment. I think the Chicago Bulls team is one of the most dominant teams in the league. Actually, when I do my next episode of Rise 2 Cents, I'm going to talk about my top 5 NBA teams so far. I got Chicago sitting right there at number 5, man. You cannot overlook this Bulls team. You know, when you come to the United Center, you in for a tough one, man. Chicago, baby, stand up.
And a lot of credit not only goes to Billy and obviously to the players, but Mark Eversley and Arturas Karnisovas for what they did to this roster and being able to be fluid with what their game plan was. When they first came in, it was about evaluation and to see what the talent was. And really quickly, very, very quickly, they figured, oh, we don't have enough of the youth that we trust enough to build amongst this. And what did they do? They flipped everybody. And you look at what they built. And to me, that is something that we have to kind of commend the entire organization, even from ownership down, even after all the frustration during the John Paxson and more specifically the Jim Boylan and Gar Forman years. They did this. I totally get it, Chicago. I get it. But this is what you kind of gave them credit for what they did. When they made this turnaround, this is what happens when we have enough foresight to see how the league is going and be able to make the proper moves. And we are joined by one of our favorites making his return, finally making one of his returns here on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch is Robert Scott from Rob's 2 Cents. Rob, before we get out of here, we have you for just a few more moments. Let's kind of take a look around the league. It is something that you also love doing. You just don't love watching the Bulls. You love watching the entire association. So it's funny because we talked about the entire Eastern Conference. You mentioned Milwaukee. Around the East right now, when you look at the Brooklyns, you look at the Milwaukees, you look at what Miami and Philly, Chicago, Atlanta, a lot of these different teams, did it creep up on you how fast the East kind of turned? Was it for you the moment Washington made that big deal for Russ with LA when they switched to where do you think this all kind of came together in the Eastern Conference, just kind of becoming a very reputable side of the NBA?
Well, we got to first start off with the move heard around the world with Kyrie, KD, and James Harden joining forces. You have to look at that as as a major contributor to teams realizing we have to put rosters together, especially to contend with a team like that. Because even without a full roster, just mentioning those three names gives you chills. Then we look at Philadelphia. We see the development of Seth Curry. We see what Joel Embiid is doing. We know that there's a debacle going on between Ben Simmons and the team, but they still look good without him. The question with Philly is, can Joel Embiid stay healthy? We look at Milwaukee, not really changing that much about their roster. But, one of the teams I screamed all last season, don't sleep on the Bucks. Drew Holiday is a stud. And you look at Washington, as you mentioned, letting go of Russell Westbrook, who I love Russell to death, but he can almost be cancerous to a team. As we see what's going on with the Los Angeles Lakers right now, I'm hoping that they're able to get that together just because I'm such a huge fan of Melo, by the way. That's my boy right there. We'll love to see him make it to the NBA Finals. But they bring in a Kyle Kuzma. You bring in the KCP. You bring in a Harrell. Players that teams didn't want come to that Washington Wizards team. You see right now the Wizards are, 5th or 6th in the Eastern Conference. And then you look at Miami, making that move for Kyle Lowry, the pit bull, as I like to call him, bringing that championship pedigree. He won that ring with Kawhi and the rest of those boys in Toronto, bringing in a PJ Tucker who's fresh off a ring with Milwaukee. And then you still have to remember with Miami, Victor Oladipo is coming back. They're only going to get stronger. So I'm just loving the way that the Eastern Conference is looking. They have turned from the Leastern Conference to the Beastern Conference. Let Rob tell you.
So we moved to the Western Conference, which has been the dominant one. And I guess there's no better way to say we know that there are so many legit teams. We know that Denver is one of these teams that was really good last year, but is fighting a lot of injuries. Phoenix looks good. And the real question, though, in the Western Conference, and you know what this is, and as much as we want to focus on Golden State and give them their flowers, are the Lakers going to make a run to come back? Is the age caught up? I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but I also understand some of the heat that comes towards him, especially more specifically NBA stuff. Let's not kind of talk about how people like to just badger him on social media.
Yeah.
If you look at the legit, what we've seen, how many miles he has on those tires. Same thing with Russ. Same thing with Melo. AD, he's an old 27-year-old, 28-year-old.
Old.
What's up with the Lakers?
Well, you know what? I know it sounds cliche, but you can never count out LeBron. I I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, at least not on the court. You know, I've always been a Kobe guy. I've been a Michael Jordan guy. But LeBron has shown he knows what it takes to get to the NBA Finals. Maybe not to win it all, but he knows how to get you there. By hook or by crook, he's going to find a way to get this team to work. I believe they are already starting to show signs of that. You see Westbrook starting to limit his turnovers. You see LeBron starting to play more consistent. You know, he had to get past those injury issues and the fake COVID test issues. You know, now if you really pay attention to it, in the last 6 games, LeBron, he's been dominant. He's been showing that he can still drive to the rim with the best of them. You know, my only thing with LeBron is you need to limit those 3-point shots. I understand you're chasing Kareem. You have to limit those 3-point shots, but you have to remember they're also going to get some help soon. Well, not soon, but hopefully in the near future. And Trevor Ariza and Kendrick Nunn. They got Taylor Horton Tucker back. They're bringing some youth back to this roster. And I think that the Lakers are going to be A-OK. As you see right now, I believe they're 4th in the West. And we're talking about a team not so long ago that was at the bottom half of the Western Conference, and now they're slowly moving their way back up to their rightful places. You know, the league is good when Los Angeles wins. I really think that the Lakers are going to make some noise in the playoffs. That's not going to be a team that you want to see as the game slows down, especially depending on especially, realizing how big this team is. Anthony Davis is not a little guy. LeBron is not a little guy. You still have Melo coming off the bench. You still have a Dwight Howard coming off the bench. This team, as the game slows down and that defense tightens up, this is going to be a team that you want to see, that you're going to want to be representing your roster. And I'm telling you right now, led by LeBron James, you can't count the man out, Mercado. LeBron knows how to win.
It's like betting against Tom Brady, and we know how many
you
times
don't do it.
You just
don't bet against
do it.
TB12.
You just can't do it, and it's what's going to make this NBA playoffs so much fun, because truly, just like last year and just like the bubble year, it's going to be about matchups. Because guess what? Everybody is pretty good in the NBA right now. Just like when the NFL comes, everybody's either really bad or really good. We just don't know, but the games will play themselves out. And we want to thank the one and only Robert Scott. Rob, he's one of our favorites. He's the host of Rob's Two Cents. Comes in hot and educated and full of passion. And he's one of the good dudes. Working the peoples follow you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, I'm going to get the people what they want because I am one of the people. You know, we watch these other sports shows and they talk about the same teams, the same players all the time. This is such a big sports world. As you look in the NFL, you look in the NBA, there's a lot of teams to talk about, man. So I want to make sure we touch light on everything. You see Houston on a 7-game winning streak. You see Phoenix bringing in JaVale McGee. Not so little anymore once DeAndre Ayton goes to the bench. So much to talk about. Mercado, I can't wait to have future conversations about the NBA, about the NFL, man, and what you guys are doing over there. Sports on the Couch, Sports Cubicle, man. I love you guys, man. Much love, much respect. And hopefully one day I can get you to come on my show as well, brother.
Just bet. Say less, my friend. He is the one, one of our favorites. Rob Scott. Check him out at Rob Two Cents all over the universe. The Rewind Sports 60 on YouTube. He's one of our favorites. Thank you so much, my brother.
Yes, sir.